Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
All right, it is 6:07 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are here to help you make sense. Good Friday morning to all. You're listening to Patrice Onwuka, and I'm here with Andrew Langer, one of our good buddies here at WMAL. He's in for Larry O'Connor.
And I just realized,
Andrew.
Happy Friday to you. And I just realized as we're coming back on the air, I need to text my older child to make sure that they know about this closure on 95 because this is going to affect their commute to work this morning.
Yeah,
so
folks should definitely do so. And, you know, Jamie Whitten got us covered with the updates. So stick with us all morning. All right. Well, it's 6:35 this hour. Matthew Hurtt's going to be joining us, Arlington GOP chairman, to talk about the craziest on the school board meetings, members, and, you know, the Karens over in this area. 7:05, Stuart Whitson running for Virginia's 11th district. Congressional District special election is coming up. 7:35, Matt Schlapp, he's the chairman of CPAC, talking about news of the day. At 8:05, Dr. Robert Malone is going to give us a debrief, his reactions to the RFK Jr. hearing. And then at 8:35, Allie Hopper, she's going to join us to talk about the 30,000 children that have actually been found. These are the kids who were brought into this country illegally across the southern border. Just 10% of the 300,000 still missing. All right, Andrew. Well, yesterday, big day on Capitol Hill for RFK Jr., the HHS secretary. He was before the Senate Finance Committee hearing, and if you could imagine there would be fireworks, you were underwhelmed.
Oh, yes,
I mean, it was amazing. The back and forth, the tense exchanges that he had, both with Democrat and also with some Republican, Republicans on the committee. So we're going to go through, you know, let's take this piece by piece and talk about it. But, you know, I watched some of the hearing. I watched a lot of the clips afterwards, and it obviously it was like a bunch of senators who really had it out for him, and there were a few who were genuine in their who wanted to really talk about what you're doing at the with just in general, and then there were some who obviously were just kind of shills for Big Pharma. I'm just going to put it out there. What was your initial reaction, Andrew?
Well, so listen, the goal of all of this, as it is to find the vulnerabilities within the Trump administration, right? That unlike the first term, where they could sow chaos and they could have this revolving door of officials, and that would minimize the impact of the Trump agenda on the policy landscape. To use a lot of $5 words, basically, they want to do what they can to frustrate Trump in achieving his goals. And so, you know, here it is to try to pick away at Republican support for RFK Jr. in whatever way possible, so they could separate. It's all about separating RFK from the pack, right? Because like all of the other pack animals, the predators that are out there, and yes, I'm equating the Democratic Party to predators that are out there. If they could bring down one majestic gazelle, or they could separate one majestic gazelle from the pack, they could bring the jackals could separate one majestic gazelle from the pack. All sorts of imagery at 6:11 on a Friday morning. They could take him down. That's what they want to do.
Well, that's exactly what they're trying to do, right? Yeah. They're trying to hit him on lots of different issues, whether it's, you know, the changes in the vaccine usage, accessibility, whether it's talking about, you know, Medicaid in general. They peppered him with a lot of different questions. Autism, his investigation into the origins of autism today in young people. So let's start here with our local Senator Mark Warner from Virginia. He's talking about COVID deaths, and I think this was one of probably the most important issues that really motivated both RFK Jr. and a lot of people in the MAHA movement and a lot of conservatives in general, which was what happened during COVID. Let's play cut 5.
Do you accept the fact that 1 million Americans died from COVID?
I don't know how many died.
You're the Secretary of Health and Human Services. You don't have any idea how many Americans died from COVID?
I don't think anybody knows that because the There was so much data chaos coming out of the CDC, and there was so many perverse incentives. And these are modeled.
You don't know the answer of how many Americans died from COVID. This is the Secretary of Health and Human Services. Do you think the vaccine did anything to prevent additional deaths?
Again, I would like to see the data and talk about the data.
You have had this job for 8 months, and you don't know the data about whether the vaccine saved
and
lives?
that's the problem, is that they didn't have the data. The data by the Biden administration absolutely dismal.
So who is politicizing? You're saying the Biden administration politicized all the data? Go back to what Senator Cantwell just said.
Fired Dr.
Go to the Trump Surgeon General.
They fired Dr. Krauss. They fired all the people who questioned the orthodoxy. They fired Dr. Gruber, Dr. Krauss.
So, Mr. Chairman, the Secretary of Health and Human Services doesn't know how many Americans died from COVID. Doesn't know if the vaccine helped prevent any deaths. And you are sitting as Secretary of Health and Human Services?
Yeah, so this is one of the big heated exchanges here. And I think, Andrew, I'm going to have you jump in here. But one takeaway from this entire hearing is this. It's that RFK Jr. was able to use this platform to debunk a lot of the established, narratives around COVID. Yeah. Namely, that the million people or whatever that number is that died of COVID actually died of COVID, right, and not died with COVID, but of other symptoms.
Which I wish he had been a little bit more specific in that answer. There's that part of the answer, and then there's also the other part of the answer is, Senator, more people died after Joe Biden took office than before. Yes. We wouldn't have had the vaccine had it not been Operation at Warp Speed. And then we also have to look at the issue of the ancillary impacts here. He did it. I wish he'd hit it a little bit harder about the chaos and the fact that we just don't know. I'm sorry, Patrice, back to you.
Yeah, I think that there's so much more that could be said. But as you can see, Warner was not looking for a real nuanced answer. Warner was just kind of doing a gotcha. Oh, you don't think 1 million people died of COVID? Well, that's what everybody else says. And I think RFK was saying, the government data collected at the time was not good, and how it was parsed and how it was, cobbled together for a narrative that you were peddling right now is the point here. All right, let's pick up with Elizabeth Warren, your favorite Native American and mine. Cut 7.
So let's clear this up right now, Secretary Kennedy. Will you tell America that all adults and all children over 6 months of age are eligible to get a COVID booster at their local pharmacy today?
Anybody can get the booster.
I'm sorry?
Anybody can get it, Senator.
Anybody. So you're saying that is now the official rule of HHS. Anybody is eligible to get a booster by just walking into the pharmacy.
It's not recommended for healthy people.
No. If you don't recommend, then the consequence of that in many states is that you can't walk into a pharmacy and get one. It means insurance companies don't have to cover the $200 or so cost. As Senator Dr. Cassidy said, you are effectively denying people vaccines.
We're not going to recommend a product for which there's no clinical data for that indication. Is that what I should be doing?
What you should be doing is honoring your promise that you made when you were looking to get confirmed in this job.
You're going like this.
And that is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their
Michael, so I'm sorry, Patrice. It's like,
yeah, go ahead.
It's like it bangs you over the head. First of all, that voice. But at the end of the day, and I mean her voice, I don't mean his voice. I want to be really clear about that. But it's like the science is the science is the science. If the science says it's not recommended because there's no guidance, there's no clinical efficacy that's been demonstrated for most healthy people, then that's the science, right? We're supposed to trust the science, Patrice.
Why should we be forced to do something that the science doesn't support? All right, we're going to pick up because he had a epic at the end of this this cut, an epic statement, just exposing Senator Warren's motivations here. But it is 6:16.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
So let's pick up here because I think with this quote, you have Senator Elizabeth Warren trying to educate, like she's still a college professor at Harvard, is RFK Jr. And then he literally just calls her out and cuts the legs from under her chair. Go ahead, Michael.
In this job.
You're going like this.
That is, you promised that you would not take away vaccines from anyone who wanted them. You just changed the classification of the COVID vaccine.
I'm not taking them away from people, Senator.
It takes it away if you can't get it from your pharmacist.
Well, most Americans are going to be able to get it from their pharmacy for free. Most Americans will be able to get it from their pharmacy free.
The question is, everyone who wants it, that was your promise.
No, I didn't. I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying that you were lying when you said that?
There you go. That was the drop the mic. That was the drop the mic moment, Andrew, when he says, you know what, you have taken $855,000 from the pharmaceutical companies, which is why you are driving Americans to continue to take this COVID booster, even for regular healthy folks who are not over a certain age or do not have underlying pre-existing conditions. That is what's motivating your question.
Well, listen, all I know is I could easily spend like the entire show breaking this down because it is all about trying to score these political hit points on RFK at the end of the day, and it completely undercuts the idea that the science is the science is the science. Let's go back in here. I want you to you need to hear this cut again from RFK Jr. Let's play cut 7A again, Michael.
I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said...
And I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies, Senator.
Did you hold up a big sign saying...
I don't even know what the big sign comment is, but at the end of the day, right, we have to have an HHS secretary who's going to follow the science on things. I'm sorry, Patrice,
right.
back to you here.
Yeah, it's so important. So now Elizabeth Warren is really trying to say that he's lying. And we heard this lying thread come out in several of the comments here. Let's play Senator Maggie Hassan, Democrat from New Hampshire. Let's play cut 10. She's trying to call out the RFK Jr. for lying.
Those parameters, you did it behind closed doors.
No, the data is all public.
Now parents who decide that they do want their children to have
You're just making stuff up, Senator.
I'm not
You're just making stuff up.
You know, sometimes when you make an accusation, it's kind of a confession, Mr. Kennedy. So let's just settle with this. So here's what's going to happen. To Senator Warner's point, to the parents who are concerned all around the country, to people who want to get the COVID vaccine this fall, even if they're under 65, because the boosters have worked, there's been much less serious disease. People do not have the same level of threat and risk from COVID that they used to because of these vaccines. People who want to exercise their freedom of choice are being denied that.
Well, they aren't. Everybody can get the vaccine.
Because you are citing data that you won't produce to the public.
You're just
and you are rejecting
You're
science.
making things up to scare people, and it's a lie.
With respect, I do not think I'm the one making things.
You are lying right now, Senator.
Bingo. So there you have, Andrew. This is what the Democrats do. You know, I'm sure you have testified on Capitol Hill and had some nutty.
It's been a bit, yes.
Yes. And what they do is they literally make things up, try to back you into a corner. And now if you heard what she said, Senator Hassan said, oh, people who claim to be that you're lying are the ones who are lying. But the funny thing is it's actually her making something up, and because she's lying to try to pretend like he's the one doing it. The left does it well, but I'm glad to see the pushback from RFK Jr. on that.
Listen, all I know is the American public understands this. When you've got Dana Carvey and David Spade on their podcast making fun of the efficacy of the COVID boosters, you know that it is seeped into the American public. Oh yeah, I'm going to get the booster. It's going to last till I get out to my car, maybe. You know that the American public gets this.
They do. And you know what? The only people who don't get this are sitting senators right now, U.S. senators, which is why their approval ratings are in the toilet. Yeah. It is 6:23. All right. Coming up, we've got Matt Hurtt, Arlington's GOP chairman, here to talk to us about everything going on in the county. Not surprisingly, some crazy liberal ladies going off, plus the school board denying and deflecting when it comes to the transgender policy in schools. All right, stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:37 on News Talk 105.9 WMAL. We are here making sense of the news, making sense of the world. I'm Patrice Onwuka, here every Friday. And alongside me here is Andrew Langer, in for Larry O'Connor, who'll be back on Monday. But good to have you this Friday morning.
I was going to say,
Andrew.
Every Friday, Patrice, or every Friday? Yes, it's so good
it's
to be here.
It's every Friday, you're right.
I know, it is. It is. It's a great day to be out there. And so glad I could be with you. It's always fun.
Well, and you know, we play the best music when I'm on Fridays.
Yes.
You do know that, the bumper music.
Oh yeah,
we take you back.
I'm gonna get down on it. Believe me, I'm a fan of the Daz
All
Band.
right, at 7 o'clock, we've got Stuart Whitson. He's running for Virginia's 11th district special election. 7:35, Matt Schlapp, CPAC chairman, talking about news of the day. 8:05, Dr. Robert Malone. He's going to give his take on the RFK Jr. hearing yesterday, as we were talking about. And at 8:35, Allie Hopper, she's going to give us an update on the 30,000 of the 300,000 illegal migrant children who were brought to this country. Those 30,000 have been reunited and hopefully found at least. So we'll get more details from her. But right now, we're happy to welcome Matt Hurtt to the show. Matt is the Arlington GOP chairman. He is, a special guest. He's a friend. He's a friend of this show. Matt, welcome.
Patrice, Andrew, it's great to be with you. Happy Friday.
Terrific. Well, let's get right into this. Arlington School Board. Now, the Arlington GOP, you guys got a hold of some interesting audio where Arlington School Board members were at the Arlington Democrats' monthly meeting. And not surprisingly, transgender issues came up. Do you want to give us a debrief of what exactly is going on here?
So, Patrice, we're now 3 weeks into chaos among the Arlington Democrats, where 3 weeks ago an older lady held a racist sign up. The Arlington Dems have been on defense the entire time, and on Wednesday night they held their September membership meeting, which, by the way, about 24 people attended. But during a question and answer period, a gentleman who probably goes door to door for the Arlington Democrats asked, "What happens if we get asked about the transgender issue?" And a sitting member of the Arlington School Board who was answering questions said, "This is a distraction. Nobody cares about this. They're actually just trying to distract you from taking away federal funding." And so it's clear that the Arlington Democrats are on defense because the polls show 70% of Northern Virginia residents. This isn't 70% of Americans. This is 70% of people in deep blue Northern Virginia, Arlington, Fairfax, Alexandria, Loudoun, Prince William, oppose men and women's sports, and the number is higher for men and women's bathrooms. And so they are struggling to find their footing. This is the first time in probably a generation that Arlington Democrats have been on defense on an issue, and it's exactly what I've been doing as chairman of the Arlington County Republican Committee, is going on offense and holding them accountable for their insane views.
Matthew, I will want to add to this because this is something that happened down in Williamsburg. One school board member dared ask the question, and it's just a legitimate public policy question: how much are we spending on English as a second language? How much are we spending on translation services in our schools? Has anybody in Arlington County asked that question of the school district?
You know, the spending in Arlington is through the roof on their DEI and other projects. I am less concerned about that and more concerned in what the county is going to spend defending itself or going on attack against Title IX and Donald Trump in the court system. Yeah. This is absolutely insane. We've seen test scores slip in Northern Virginia. They've traded teachers for DEI administrators, and we've got these radical policies that are not in step with any segment of the Arlington population. Again, this poll that came out last week says that Hispanic parents oppose these radical policies. Black parents oppose these radical policies. Even liberals struggle with it. They're at about 50-50, but conservatives or self-identified Republicans, independents overwhelmingly oppose, and it is even unpopular or at least middle of the road among the liberal population here in Northern Virginia.
Now, you know, Matt, shifting gears, but still staying with kind of the radical crazies. You know, we not too long ago, we saw the ridiculous woman, Anita Martineau, who's, you know, was holding a sign at a Winston Sears rally that just was just racist, insulting, disgusting. If, you know, she should be banished from society, where in essence she said, if, you know, trans can't have their bathrooms, then you can't, as a white woman, you can't have my water fountain, taking us back to the good old days of Jim Crow, apparently Democrat, obviously. But apparently there's been an update with this lady. You want to give us this update?
Well, there was another woman earlier this week. Look, these are a dime a dozen in Northern Virginia, the activist base. And Sandra Davis, who's running for House of Delegates out in Fairfax, was at a back-to-school night in Fairfax County. The Democrats had political signs up. Sandra had signs up for Stuart Whitson and for Sandra and for other candidates. And this former teacher and principal or assistant principal, a woman by the name of Doris Ann Sprague Evans, a lot of names there, who has been a longtime activist with Indivisible and Fairfax Democrats and all these other groups. She'd been at No Kings rallies. She's got a pretty nasty X handle, to be honest. Pulled up the political signs and said, "You can't do this at my school." And so this is a feature, not a bug, of Northern Virginia politics. And your listeners know they go out on Election Day and they vote. And they'll meet these lovely, what I call Grand Tifa. They're grandmas who are just absolutely ready to snap at anybody who doesn't toe the party line for the far left in Northern Virginia. So there was another one of those earlier this week, and I can tell you from personal experience, last election and the election before, we catch these lovely grandmothers on video, on audio, in photographs, and we expose them because they're anti-democratic because they don't want dissenting viewpoints showing up to the polling places.
I mean, Tim, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, go ahead.
No, Matthew, I mean, is it any surprise that they're anti-democratic when they've got Tim Kaine apparently not understanding how this, you know, the principles upon which this nation was founded?
You know, Andrew, our rights do, in fact, come from our Creator. And it is no question. I mean, we understand this from our founding documents. There is a move to take us away from what has made this country great historically,
yes.
And they replace civics and reading, writing, and arithmetic in the schools with radical gender ideology. You know, the worksheets that many of your listeners' children bring home are, what are your preferred pronouns? Not, you know, tell me about give me liberty or give me death. We've replaced common sense education with radical gender ideology.
All right, Matthew, we got to leave it right there. Always good to have you on. And thank you for exposing the Grand Tifas. That's a good new term for our lexicon here. Folks can absolutely follow you at Matthew Hurtt, as well as at Arlington GOP, at GOP Arlington for more of these Grand Tifas. Thanks so much, Matt.
Later this afternoon on the Derek Hunter Show, Democrats come out in favor of crime and big pharma. Yeah, you can't make this stuff up. We'll talk about it at 3 o'clock on WMAL.
Do you know where all of these children are and that they are safe? Yes or no?
Congressman, as I explained the process, we get these kids when they are referred to us by the Department of Homeland Security. We then provide them with care while they are in our custody. We lose custody of those kids once we find a vetted sponsor with whom they can stay.
A vetted sponsor that rapes and murders the people that they're entrusted to? Because you issue a rule that doesn't even do the background check?
There you go. That is Representative Chip Roy pressing Biden Health HHS Secretary Javier Becerra at the time. I believe this was 2024.
Yeah.
Well, we have an update, and a really positive update. Some 23,000 children of the 300,000 children who were trafficked into this country illegally, 23,000 have been found. There's still over 270,000, excuse me, who are lost, unfortunately. But, as Tom Homan explains, our borders are, at least we found 23,000. Let's play cuts 18. And Andrew, I'd love your response.
Yeah.
300,000 children. I looked at the numbers just yesterday. We've located over 23,000 of them. So 23,000 locations of the 300,000. Well, President Trump's committed. We're not going to stop till we find every one of them, or at least run every lead down on those 300,000 children. That's a big plus for the administration, because the last administration wasn't even looking for them.
No, they weren't looking for them at all. Why? Because at the end of the day, what they want to do is they want to make sure that they're propping up their voter base down the road. They could go and get to chip away at our immigration policy here at home. We can get back to, because the Democrats didn't want to actually solve the Dreamer problem when Donald Trump was president of the first term. They want to have some kind of pathway here.
Yeah, coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to have Allie Hopper, who's, kind of an investigative citizen journalist who dives into this business of just what's happening with these migrant children. It's shameful that 300,000 children who came into this country, were brought into this country illegally, have disappeared, and the Biden administration just shrugged their shoulders like, it is what it is. Yeah. For people who care so much about the children, they don't care about migrant children. Thankfully, though, it's really impressive to see Tom Homan, under President Trump's leadership, working to find these kids and take them out of the hellacious situations that they're facing. And when we look at the fact that this is big business, these are big bucks for trafficking kids. I think here Nick Sorter says that, according to Pam Bondi, transferring children, nets you about $7 million for traffickers. So no wonder they wanted to traffic in so many children into this administration. But thank God our borders are closed, and children are not just being trafficked, but they're being found. We'll have more on this, but it is 6:53.